So I don't really know how else to go about this, so we're going to do a little video to try to keep track of everything. So this is the old motor. This is the new motor. So the old motor sucked in a small threaded piece of a bolt, which I still think I have laying over here somewhere. Maybe not. But it sucked in a small threaded little bolt. Probably through the intake. And you can see that it damaged the hull out of the top of the cylinder. This guy's all nice and clean from not firing forever. And then you can see some nice indentation like there and over there where the screw had gotten lodged into it. And then it eventually split the sleeve in the back. So we'll call it mixed and made some cool racket, made some noise. So we pulled this guy out. That was what killed it. So we put the new one in. So the new motor comes and there's a solenoid in front of the transmission here. That one was broken. The coolant temp sensor read still from this motor was broken. There was another like cool piece of plastic back here on the side someplace that was broken off of it. So we were going to replace it with parts from this motor. Worked out pretty good. This timing cover at the bottom was trash. The new one was also trash. And somebody didn't install them correctly. You can see it at the hole cut through because the belt broke through parts of it and such. So we put the new one in. New one had an EGR. We got a new wiring harness. The wiring harness from this car didn't have VTEC. It also didn't have EGR, but it did have two O2 sensors, whereas the harness that we got for this only had one O2 sensor. So we stole one O2 sensor wiring section out of the old harness and spliced it inside into the ECU and the corresponding pins. The new motor's VTEC solenoid, which I have in a box in the car, I'll have to show it later, had to get replaced because it didn't have the oil pressure switch on the side. So the car didn't know when it had enough oil pressure in the head to tell it to turn VTEC on. So like we got this running on the old ECU, the old wiring harness, fired it up, ran it, went through like the heat cycle to get the coolant through it, to get the thermostat opened up, to make sure the transflow was good, make sure the oil was good, and then shut it down. Swapped over to the new ECU and the new ignition harness. And so we just kind of floated it, but new ECU's in, new ignition harness with a new key cylinder, and that way we can run the VTEC. That was the idea behind installing this stuff, is that now we can control the VTEC again, and then we can add VTEC to the car and still keep it automatic. So we hooked all those up, we fired it up, and as soon as we go to turn it on, it just gives me that air suction noise and it shuts down. And we go to crank and we have no compression whatsoever. At least that's what we thought. So pulled the valve cover, pulled the timing cover, checked time, it's out 4 teeth. Like this guy is lined up and the crank is 4 teeth, I think further around this direction. So I think it advanced the crank. Set all this back in place, but in the process, we're going to take the timing belt tensioner off. Well, even just tighten it, and we find that the threads have ripped off inside the block, which is a fun bit. So then we got a helicoil tap kit, helicoiled the block, put a new tap in it, you know, got it all cleaned up. Bolt holds fine now. So now we were able to reset time, and currently after we've reset time, everything's in. I'll have to see if I can get good light on it, but can we see the notch marks? Or I've already cranked it again since then. This is a bad video. So it is in time. And as we've been cranking it, I'll try to leave this set up with a compression gauge, but we're getting 0 compression. It doesn't seem to matter which cylinder we put it in, we're just not getting anything. At the time of filming, I only did cylinders 4 and 3. This is cylinder 2. Which she is just not producing compression. So if we don't have any compression and the timing jumped pretty much on warm up, like it was at idle, we didn't even get to rev it up much. So I mean, how many more problems can you run into with this kind of little nonsense?